Hey guys, back with another video on the Sokka card, this time showcasing how to extend standby finishers that we got in Avatar. I kind of skipped over that in the previous video because I didn't want to spend too much time animating, as it can get pretty extensive. But now with the actual cards in my possession, it should be a bit easier to show you guys, as well as for you to follow along. For those who don't know all the cards yet, I'll probably edit in a quick explanation before we move on. Okay, so the Sokka has a spawn rekey that allows you to spawn a Katsura from the deck onto the stage, either on play or when it hits the win room. The hitting to win room part is what we will be abusing to get a few extra attacks in with our finisher Zuko or Azula. The Zuko finisher gains a soul on climax play and the ability to restand if your opponent cancels, meaning you either stick damage or get to try again, which is pretty solid. He does need the Iroh for the climax combo, but that Iroh does give him check top 2 on attack, and then put one card on top and one card in waiting room, which lets you dig for triggers. This is very useful to try and find standby triggers, so we can attempt to spawn something over the Sokka and then add extra combos. The Azula is an on reverse combo that top decks her opponent and burns for 3. As part of her cost, she sacks a character from the stage, meaning we don't have to rely on standby and can guarantee getting Sokka into the win room. The Tai Li she needs on the board is a level assist that also prevents backups / events from the opponent, which helps with getting those reverses in the first place. Okay, so for the sake of these examples, let's just assume that there's no counterplay from our opponent and that we do get reverses off. In an actual game, this might be a bit harder, but with the right build, the right playstyle, and a bit of luck, this is the max amount of attacks that you could reach with either of these combos. So first off, let's showcase the Zuko. So with the Zuko, you can have up to 3 Zukos on the board. And then you are required to have the Iroh, which is really good in this deck, or in this combo, since he gives each of these Zuko checked up 2 and then choose the trigger. Then you also need to have 1 copy of the Sokka on your back row, as well as 1 copy of Sokka in your grave. Either of the back row characters you can also get out with the standby, so you only really have to prep 1, preferably the Sokka since it doesn't require stock, but either works. You also need to be at 3-0 since this combo will be clocking yourself a lot, and you're pretty limited by the amount of clock you have when doing the extra attacks. So with 3-0, you'll be able to do 6 extra, which is the maximum. So now the absolute worst we can do, attack numbers wise, is just swinging 3 times with the Zuko, and then all 3 stick and we never see a standby. So if that happens, we only have 3 attacks, but since each of them gains a soul, that means that we stuck at least 9 damage, and we probably won anyway. But yeah, we want to see the maximum. So let's start off with the first Zuko. He can only ever add 1 attack, which is his own restand. So you can swing with him, you trigger 1, and if he gets cancelled, you get to attack again. He can't add extra attacks with the Sokka since our front row is filled with characters that can still attack, so there's really no point in overplaying any of them. But yeah, at least you can get an extra attack off of him, but you don't necessarily need a 3rd Zuko. So then from the 2nd Zuko onwards, we can add 1 extra attack for each standby trigger he finds. So let's say we attack here, we find the standby trigger, we then grab the Sokka from our waiting room, place it over the Sokka on stage. Then we resolve the Sokka that just hit the waiting room by paying 1, putting something into clock, and then searching our deck for preferably another Sokka, and we overplay the first Zuko. So then we finish his attack. If he gets cancelled, he gets to attack again. So now we attack with the Sokka. We attack with him as well. If we find a standby, then we could technically overplay this again, but it's kind of wasteful of this Sokka, but it might not matter. Not sure. So let's just say he attacks and we don't find standby. Then we attack with the 3rd Zuko. Now, from the 3rd Zuko, we can actually start getting 2 attacks extra for each standby hit, since now we can overplay this Sokka, and then this Sokka overplays that Sokka, and we get 2 extra attacks on the front row. So we look for a standby with the Iroh effect. We put 1 card into win room, trigger standby. We grab a Sokka from our win room, overplay this Sokka, then we resolve the Sokka, preferably for another Sokka, overplay the Sokka on front, resolve him, and then we just spawn something random over the center Zuko. So now we finish his attack, and if he gets cancelled, he gets to stand. And now we have 3 extra attacks. So we attack here and here, getting 1, 2 stock. And then for a final attack, for possibly the final attack, we look, try and find the standby. And let's say we do. We trigger standby, overplay the Sokka, use his ability, we clock 1, look for a card, overplay the Sokka, then we resolve this one, pay 1, clock 1, and we just play anything down here. The waiting room. So now we finish this attack, and then we have 2 more attacks. So if any of these finds another standby, which is possible, we get to gain 1 more attack. Since we're at 3-5 and we only have space for 1 more clock damage. So let's say we attack here, and we manage to find the standby in those 2. Then we just overplay the Sokka and then use the Sokka ability. Standby, and then use the Sokka ability to overplay any character that already attacked. Like this, and bam. And then we have 12 attack. Okay, so there's 2 more things that I want to note about the Zuko combo. One of them is that even if you whiff standby in the first 2 Zukos, then if they actually did get their restands off, then you could still have enough stock to get double attacks off of the 3rd Zuko if he managed to find a standby. So let's say we attack with the Zuko, we get a stock, we attack again because the opponent cancelled, get a stock, then we attack with the 2nd Zuko, he gets cancelled, attack again, and now we have 4 stock. So we didn't find any standbys, and then if we actually do manage to find a standby with this Zuko, so we trigger, we can overplay this Sokka, then this Sokka hits the waiting room, we use his ability to clock 1, spawn something from the deck, let's say another Sokka, and then after we resolve this, we actually just 3 stock Encore. And then this Sokka comes back on the board, overplaying the Sokka we just standby'd out, and now we get to resolve him as well. So we pay another 1, we clock 1, and then we spawn something else. So now if he gets cancelled, we can attack with these, and then maybe find another standby. And if we do find a standby, then we get 2 more attacks. So even though we didn't find any standbys, if they do get multiple attacks off, then we can at least get to 9 or 10 attacks with 3 stock anchoring the Sokka, which is pretty good. I think having that kind of insurance is pretty good, and that's the positive thing about the Zuko Climax combo, not costing any stock. And it also just makes it a little bit more consistent in getting off multiple attacks and trying to finish your opponent. So it's a nice kind of insurance to have for something that's a bit more RNG. There's also one more thing I want to point out, and that is a type of attack reset you could do with the Zukos. So since these Zukos are restanding and triggering a lot, they might at some point start swinging for 5 or 6 damage if they're direct attacking. And sometimes you really don't want to swing for 6. So let's say your opponent is like, has 1 climax and 6 cards, you really don't want to swing for 6, right? So what you can do is, if you do actually find a standby off of a Zuko that's swinging for 6, then instead of overplaying a Zuko that already attacked, you can just cancel out your own attack, never making your opponent check for damage, and then swing for smaller numbers into that deck, which is pretty cool. It's a bit hard to judge when that is necessary, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, because let's say you only need like 2 or 3 damage to finish, then doing something like this makes it much more likelier to win the game, rather than making them cancel on 6 and then go into next deck where they can cancel a bunch more, instead of just swinging for small numbers into that deck. Okay, it's time to showcase the Azula. I think she's even scarier to face, but a bit harder to pull off in a real game. Once again, we need triple combo. We also need to have one Ty Lee on the back row and have one Sokka on the stage. For this combo, you don't actually need a Sokka in waiting room, but you do need to have all your other copies in the deck. Which could be awkward sometimes, but if you spend all your stock, you could use something like the Momo Shuffle back to put them back into your deck. We also trigger check a lot less often than with the Zuko combo, so we also have less chance of actually triggering one, which is nice. But if you do trigger one or are missing one somewhere, then triggering standby can also compensate for that. But yeah, anyway, triple Azula. Again, same standby climax as the Zuko, which is pretty cool. You also need to have at least one stock going into the attack phase for this. Okay, so we attack with the first Azula, doing a normal swing. We trigger, gain an extra stock. Then once she gets the reverse off, we pay one, put the Sokka into the winning room, then resolve her climax combo first, top decking the opponent and burning for 3. Then once she finishes, we can resolve the Sokka effect, paying an additional 1 and putting a card into clock. Then we search our deck for a Sokka and overplay the Azula that finished your climax combo. Then we attack with the Sokka to gain an additional stock. Then we repeat the process with the second Azula, finishing her attack. Then paying for climax combo, putting the Sokka into the winning room. Resolving her climax combo, then resolving Sokka by paying 1, clocking something. And then once again searching our deck for a Sokka, put him in the open lane again, attack with the Sokka, attack with the Azula, repeating the process. On reverse, we pay 1, sack the Sokka, finish her climax combo, top deck burn 3. Resolve Sokka, search our deck for another Sokka, and then swing here. So this is the most consistent version where you do not need to rely on standby triggers at all. It does cap out at 9 attacks or 9 instances of damage. So if you do want to get more, you kind of have to find a standby climax or a standby trigger on your second attack onward. You also need to have 1 additional stock. So let me just showcase that real quick. We go back to 3 Azula and we start with 2 stock. We also need to have the Sokkas back into the deck. Okay, so okay, standby, we put this here. We attack with the Azula, swing. Again, sack this, burn, resolve Sokka, search for a Sokka, and then attack with the Sokka. So here, from here onwards, we could trigger a standby. And if we do it before this Azula attacks, we can start getting 2 attacks on each Azula resolve. So we trigger standby, put the Sokka on the back row, then attack here, gain a stock, pay 1, put Sokka in the waiting room, resolve her climax combo, then resolve this Sokka, clock 1, search the deck for a Sokka, overplay, resolve this Sokka, pay 1, clock 1, overplay. So then we attack here, and then she does the same thing, giving you 2 extra attacks, bringing you up to 11. And then technically you could find 1 more standby to get 12. But all you need is that 1 standby somewhere early on in your attacks to get this off, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty strong. Anyway, that was it for this showcase. I think either combo is pretty fine with the Sokka, pretty much up to preference. They kind of function similarly to each other. I do think the Azula is much stronger, but definitely more difficult to pull off. So you kind of have to center your whole game plan on going into level 3 with your opponent having a full board, which can be pretty difficult, especially in a standby deck. You definitely need to build around that, whereas Zuko can pretty much serve well in any deck, as him direct attacking doesn't really matter. Yeah, so I think either option is pretty fine. The Sokka's pretty strong in this. Yes, you only add like attacks for 1 or 2 into this, but usually that's enough. 12 attacks. I'm not sure how OP this is, but it feels really cool to do, and definitely not intended, or at least I think it isn't. It might be fine as is, and there's a lot that could go wrong. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you think of it, or if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.